These are our new set of multiplication facts. These are times 5. So we've done times 10, times 100, and we know times 0. So these are our times 5 facts, okay? So if you remember, whenever we say times, that X, it means groups of. So when I say 2 times 3, what I'm saying is 2 groups of 3. So 2 groups and 3 inside of each group. So we'll go ahead and cover them times 5. This is actually your Friday page, but I wanted to cover it together on Zoom. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. So A, it says 3 times 5. If you look at it, you can see there's 3 groups and there's 5 in each group. What's a quick way I can answer this? By counting by what? So count by 5s to 3 groups. So that means 3 times 5 will be what? 15. And online, I need to hear you guys. So make sure you're doing it.
15.
Well, in both places. So yeah, you write it on both, yeah. 3, no, right there. 15 and 15. 3 times 5 is 15. That also means 5 times 3 is 15. Same exact fact. Okay, B, 1 times 5. That's telling us that's 1 group of 5. So if we count by 5s, how many would that be? 5. And we should know that one already. 1 times 5 is 5. All right, C, we have 4 times 5. That's 4 groups of 5. Count them. So 5 times 4 would be 20. 5 times 4 is 20.
20. Wrong. Got it. Back.
Okay, D. 5. It's 2 groups of 5. Count them.
10.
5
10.
and 10. So 2 times 5 would be
10.
10. 2 times 5 is 10.
Look at
Okay, next one, 0 times 5. That's 0 groups of 5. How many do we have? 0. 0 times 5 is 0. Anything times 0 will always be 0. All right, go to the back of that page.
Okay.
There should be a back to this page. Go to the back.
I don't have a back.
You don't have the back? Okay, you'll have to get
Is
down
it
one
this?
and then it's
Is
the
it
back.
this? Is it this one?
See. It's just some more. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's look at it. So we have blank times 5. So we got to count the groups. How many groups do we have? Groups, not the answer.
7.
7 groups. So that's 7 times 5, and then count them by 5. What would it equal to? 7 times 5 would equal? No, 7 times 5 is not 30. Count it again. 35. 7 times 5 is 35.
35.
Okay, next one. How many groups? Count them.
It will drop it.
9 groups. So that's 9 times 5. Count them. 45. 9 times 5 is 45. Yes. Yeah, no. Okay, next one. Count how many groups? H?
5.
5 groups,
Five
so that's
groups.
5 times 5. What would it equal?
50.
5 times 5? H? I'm on H. That's 5 times 5. It will be 25. 5 times 5 is 25.
25. Six, seven,
No, leave the
8,
pencil. Yeah. Okay, so guys, try I and J by yourselves. Do I and J. Do those two.
Okay.
Okay, so I is how many? 8 times 5, and it equals 40. And then J? 6 times 5 equals 30. Good. Equals 30. All right, so these are your times 5 facts. There is a second page, but guys, you'll complete the second one on your own. I just wanted to introduce the time 5 facts to you guys. Okay, so let's look at them here on the board, and let's go through them. Okay, let's start with 1 times 5. Go. 1
times 5 is 5.
2
3
times 5
times 5
equals
is
10,
5.
10,
10.
10.
10.
3 times 5. 4
times 5 equals 20, 20, 20. 5 times 5 equals 25, 25, 25. 6 times 4 equals 25, 30. 10 times 5 equals 35, 35. 8 times 5 equals 40, 40, 40. 9 times 5 equals 45, 45, 45. 10 times 5 equals
50.
50.
11
11
times 5
times
equals
5 equals 55, 55, 55.
12 times,
12
I need
times
your math
5.
to make sure it's right.
12 times 5 equals 60, 66.
Yep. All right. Awesome, guys. So that's our times 5 facts. These are our new math facts. So we'll be testing on our facts real soon. I think that this week. Oh. All right. Okay, so we have a couple of things to discuss in math, and then we'll move on to our next thing. We did it for days. 108. 108 is your page today in math, guys. 108. Don't stop it.
Here's 108. 108.
Oh no, I was talking to somebody else. No, we're about to cover a couple of things on the board. Yeah, that's what I just did. No, that's probably gonna be All right, so guys, if you remember a couple of weeks back, we learned maybe a couple of months ago, we learned the different kinds of lines. Okay, so we're gonna learn a new set of lines on today. So you remember if it goes up and down, anybody remembers what the up and down line is called? Dennis?
Vertical.
Vertical. This is a vertical line, up and down, vertical. Okay, what line goes side to side? Side to side. Horizontal. And the last one. And then which line is in the diagonal? Diagonal? The oblique line, okay? So we have another set of lines, and they are actually a little different because there are two lines, and the two lines can go all three ways, right? So I can have them vertical. I can have the two lines horizontal. And then I can have the lines oblique. Okay? The thing that makes these lines different from the rest is that they are two lines at one time. And the two lines at one time are called parallel lines. Okay? So parallel lines are lines that are straight. They're straight. And like I said, they can go vertical, they can go horizontal, and they can go oblique. It'll be two lines right on the side of each other. The lines will never cross and they'll never touch. But the cool thing is that they're two lines and they can go all different ways. So these lines are what we call parallel lines. So when your book asks you about parallel lines, it's two lines going up and down, side to side, or diagonally that are right on the side of one another. And they are called parallel lines, okay? So I just wanted to kind of show you what that means because, like I said, it will ask you in your book, what are parallel lines, okay? All right, next thing I want to discuss. Okay, so guys, we have been practicing double-digit addition for a while. Today we're going to introduce triple-digit addition. And so it is similar to double-digit, except now you're adding three numbers instead of two, okay? So the one thing that makes this a little different is the carrying over. You got to make sure that you're carrying over to the right column. So for example, I have 168 plus 225. So I start in the back like normal. If I have to say one more thing. So I have 8 plus 5. So I start with my back numbers, 8 plus 5, that equals 13. So I'll put my 3 like normal. We know what to do. Now, when it comes to putting your 1, you have to make sure you carry over to the very next column. Don't skip this middle and go to the front. No, you carry over to the next column. So 8 plus 5 is 13. I put my 3. I carry the 1 over right here, okay? So then I add 3 numbers in the middle. 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. Then I have my front numbers. 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay? That's what's going to be key when it comes to adding 3 digits is the carrying over. Make sure you're carrying over to the right column. Don't carry over to a column that's not, that's incorrect. Okay, look at the next one. 452 plus 273. 452 plus 273. So again, I start with my back numbers. I told you I was going to try after I'm finished. 2 plus 3 is 5. We're going to put our 5. Then I have 5 plus 7. That equals 12. I'll put my 2, and my 1 will carry over to the next column, which would be right here. Then I do 1 plus 4 is 5. Then 5 plus 2 is 7. 725. Okay, if you got a little sleep paper, guys, I want you to try the last 2. Try the last 2 on your own. So these are the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just adding in dollars. Oh. Okay, so it's the same exact steps, except now it's just adding money. That's all. So make sure when you put your answer, you put your dollar symbol as well. Try these 2 on your own. Is that what y'all doing? Writing these 2? All right, come add our first one, $4.28 plus $4.17. Okay, make sure you put that down. Oh. So 8 plus 7 is 15, carry that 1, 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 8, $8 symbol. $8, 45 cents. Mariah, next one. Elijah, fold it over so that it's not going. That's what he's asking you.
No, you can't. It's probably
Okay, so 9 plus 4 is 13. Put our 3, carry 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 7. It's 2 plus 7.
She's finished her goal. Oh,
I told you how to stop doing that.
No, I didn't do that.
Okay, so 2 plus 7 is 9. Then 3 plus 1 is 4. $4.93. Awesome. So guys, this is how we add up 3 digits. Okay, so it's the same thing as 2. It's just got to make sure you're carrying over right. All right, so that's it for math, guys. Let's go ahead and go into our science and social studies. You can get out your science book. Page 72. And your science, page 72. Page 72. Free frogs. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so with this week we moved on to the forest habitat. And so a forest habitat is filled with several trees. That's what most of the habitat is. It's trees, right? And the trees are important because the trees give oxygen to all of the animals that live in that habitat. Of course, we know we get oxygen from trees, but also the animals get oxygen from the trees as well. And the trees, they give oxygen to the animals. And not just that, but these trees are also used as food for some of the animals and also protection for some of the animals. So most of the forest habitat is filled with trees. So the water inside of a forest habitat will be from streams, lakes, and rivers. That's usually where you'll find the water in the forest habitat, and the water is usually fresh water. So the animals will be able to drink that kind of water. So of course, we talked about how on 73, the forest is gonna be large. It has to be large because the animals, there's a lot of different animals that live there, and it has to be. So we got animals like bears, deer, elk, foxes, rabbits, all kinds of animals that live, chipmunks, squirrels, all types of birds that live inside of the forest habitat. So of course it has to be big enough for them to live there. Okay, so then we talked about the food chain and food inside of a forest. The bear would be is at the top of the food chain inside of the forest habitat, the bear, and also owls as well, but bears mainly because no one is hunting bears. They are a top predator. They will usually hunt for wolves and foxes and deer, different things like that. The bears are usually hunting those things. And so the owl is also a predator as well, because the owls, they can eat lots of mice. They eat lots of mice, hundreds of mice they can eat at one time. That's on page 74. And then chipmunks, they're on the lower end of the food chain. They are actually prey more than anything, and they eat nuts and seeds, okay? And so they all help each other to keep the habitat balanced. The bear will eat the wolf will eat the fox will eat the bunny, then the bunny will eat the plant. Again, all food chains start with a plant. So then we discuss shelter. So a lot of the animals live inside of the trees. Some of them live inside of the trunks of the trees. Some of them they build their nests like birds will build their nests inside of the trees. And so all of the animals need the trees. Some of the animals sleep inside of the trees, like bobcats and different animals like that. They'll sleep in the trees. So the trees are very important to a lot of the animals in the habitat. Chipmunks and like bunnies, they'll dig burrows in the ground on page 76. They'll dig burrows or tunnels in the ground, and that's where they live. And that's where they also hibernate in the winter. Remember, hibernating is when they go into a deep sleep. Their body temperature lowers and their organs slow down, and they're able to rest for a certain amount of time. Bears will build their dens. Bears have a den, which is sort of like a cave. That's where bears live inside of the habitat. And bears also hibernate as well. They don't sleep, but they just go into a rest period. And that's usually when they have their babies too. All right, so let's look at 77. Let's go ahead and answer our questions on 77. I tell you when I was finished with Zoom, I was gonna look at it. All right, so number one, what does a food chain begin with? We already said this. It begins with the what? Plants. All food chains begin with a plant. Okay, number two, what do we call an animal that a predator hunts for food? If you're being hunted, you're a prey. Yep, P-R-E-Y, prey. Number three, what plant does the forest depend on? It fills up most of the forest.
Trees.
Trees. They depend on trees. They need trees. The forest cannot thrive, and the animals in there cannot thrive unless there's a lot of trees. Four, how does the owl prevent the spread of disease? By eating what? Rats and mice. Rats and mice can spread diseases, so it's good that owls eat them, a lot of them, because it prevents that. We'll probably start stories. I don't know. Number 5, do all animals have one place as their home? No, right? They all kind of live in their different homes. No, they can't. I'm gonna put notes in here. Notes up. Say no. I'm putting notes in here. I don't know how to spell it, but I this one, I put notes and then I put zucchini. Okay. And number 6, name some of the types of animal homes. What are some of their homes they live in? The name of the home. Trees. Some of them live in holes in the trees. Where else? Where some of them live? Burrows, tunnels in the ground. R-O-W-S. Okay, where else? A den. Bears live in a den. Remember, what do birds build? A nest. Some of them live in nests. They live in the forest. And I put four. All right, so let's go ahead. So that's our pond habitat. Let's go ahead and move on to our social studies. Forest habitat. Okay, page 88. Let's talk about America's pioneers. Social studies, page 88. All right, so America's pioneers. So if you remember, we were discussing how America has grown since their last war that they had. They're now freer. And America starts to grow. And actually, a lot of people began to come to America because they knew that it was a different way of life. So a lot of people traveled. America began to grow. So remember, guys, the East Coast is where most of the states were. There wasn't really anything in the West yet. So a lot of people, when they came, they were on the East Coast, and a lot of the cities became overcrowded. And overcrowding was an issue because it could cause a lot of diseases to spread. People didn't really have good homes to live in, and it just wasn't a good thing, right? So there were some people who decided that they wanted to be pioneers, and they were going to be the first set of people to clear the way and start traveling west, because they were like, we need to find some new land. We need to find somewhere else to go. It's too crowded in the East. Let's see what we can find in the West. And if you remember, the 3 most populated cities were Philadelphia, Boston, and New York, and they were just growing and growing and growing. So these people, these pioneers, they decided to go first to clear the way so that others could follow behind them and they could help to move some of those people out of those crowded cities. Okay, so on 89, we discussed how they barely knew anything about what was to come. They didn't really know what would be in the West. The one thing the pioneer made sure to pack was his gun, right? He made sure to pack his gun because although he didn't know what would be in the West, he did know he would need to protect himself. He would have to hunt if he needed to hunt for food. And that's why the number one thing he made sure to pack was his gun. Okay. And also a mule. They would usually take a donkey with them to ride on or to carry their stuff. Excuse me. So on page 90, we discussed some of the first set of pioneers that made way west. Daniel Boone was one of them. He actually was one of the first people to make a path that people used and traveled on to start their journey west. The path was started in Virginia, and he paved the path all the way to Kentucky, right? And so this was good because it helped a lot of people who were trying to travel west. Because remember, traveling west, there was only trees. It was nothing. So they paved routes and paths to get there. And so Daniel Boone, they chopped down all the trees and made a path from Virginia to Kentucky, and it was known as Wilderness Road. And that was one of the first paths that was paved that helped people travel from the east to start traveling to the west. Okay. And so he was one of the first people to do that. We discussed the journey that the people would often take. So a lot of times, the pioneers, they would go alone and then they would come back to the east to get their families, right? So they would travel west, see what was in the west, then they would go back to the east, get their families to bring them so they could start life in the west. And so usually they would get together in wagon trains. It would be a bunch of families deciding all together to travel together. You know how like you could do like family vacations with a bunch of people in your family. Well, just imagine it like that. It was just a bunch of families that got together and decided that they were going to travel to the west. Okay. And so they would usually have a wagon master. He usually was someone who already was familiar with the route, with the path, the dangers, and he would usually lead them on and lead them the way that they needed to go. And so it's estimated that almost 500,000 people left the east and traveled west. So in 92, we discussed how they should pack for this long journey, right? First thing, they had to make sure they packed everything right? Because there were no stores. There was nothing in the west. They were going to be the ones to start everything. So they had to make sure when they left the east that they packed all the right things to travel west. One being they had to make sure they had enough food, right? They usually would have animals with them, like a cow, some chickens, right? But they also had to make sure they packed flour. They could bake a lot of things with flour. Cornmeal, they could bake a lot with cornmeal. They would pack coffee, slabs of bacon, yes, sugar, rice, beans. They would often have like one kettle pot that they would usually use to cook the food in. They would pack a lot of clothing, a lot of blankets as well, because it gets cold in the Midwest and the West, and they had to make sure they stayed warm. They also packed axes and nails because they would have to build everything, right? They would have to build everything. They brought plows to help break the ground when they would start their own gardens. So everything, they were starting everything from scratch. So they had to make sure they packed all the On 93, we discussed how they would usually sell all what they had in the east. They would sell all the furniture, everything, because they couldn't take those things with them, right? They couldn't take that on their journey. If they tried to carry anything too heavy, the wagon wouldn't be able to go through like the mountain area, because some of the west there were a lot of mountains, and so they wouldn't be able to travel in the mountains with the wagon. So they had to make sure that they packed light, but they also packed the right amount of stuff. And also we discussed how they would actually get oxen to pull their wagons because oxen were stronger than horses. Okay. All right. So let's look at our, do you remember in 93? So number 1 says, who were the people who dared to move to the American West? Those people that went first. What are they called? Pioneers. Pioneers. Mm-hmm. Boone. It's not Bond. Okay. Number 2, who was one of America's first great pioneers? Daniel
Boone.
Yep, Daniel Boone. Boone. He paved one of the first paths from Virginia to Kentucky, which helped people to start their journey west.
Yep.
Daniel Boone. Okay, number 3, how did the very first pioneers travel?
By themselves.
Huh? They walked.
In a wagon train.
No, not before the wagon trains. The first set of pioneers, they walked.
Oh.
They walked? Okay, good. All right, so guys, that's our social studies lesson on the pioneers, okay? All right, let's go ahead and review our spelling. List 20, page 40. Uh-huh. All right, let's go ahead and go over our list. So number 1, explosion.
L. Silent. 2. Vision. B. I.
3.
3. Slay. L. E. I.
Flame 4. Y'all, come on now. 5.
5.
C-O-L-L.
C-O-L-L-A-R.
6.
6. Bicycle. B-I-C-Y-C-L-E. 7. Aaron. E-R-R-A-N-D.
8.
8. Disruption. E-E-C.
9. 18.
18. E-A-E-I-G-H-T-E-E-N.
10. Author.
10. Author.
11.
A-U-T-H-O-R. 11. Calipiter. C-A-T-E-R-P-I-L-L-A-R.
12.
Mystery. M-Y-S-T-E-R-Y.
Okay. 13.
Error. E-R-R-O-R.
14.
Pastor. P-A-S-T-O-R.
15.
15. C-I-T-I-E-S. Armies. A-R-M-I-E-S. 17. Babies. B-A.
Okay, pause. Okay, vocabulary. Glare.
Glare. G-L-A-R-E. Glare. A strong means a
Good.
useful.
Useful.
U-S-E-F-U-L means useful, means helpful.
Okay, cure.
C-U-R-E. Here.
All right, let's look at your Greek and Latin. Oh, hold on. All right, your first Greek word, ergon.
Ergon. E-R-G-O-N.
Ergon, and it means to work.
Orthos. Means straight and correct.
Good. Latin word, salus.
Salus. S-A-L-I-S. Salus means salt.
Good. Mare.
Mare. M-A-R-E. Mare means sea and ocean.
Novice.
Novice. N-A-V-I-S means ship and boat.
All right, awesome. All right, so that's your spelling for this week. All right, guys, that's the end of our Zoom. I'll see you guys on tomorrow for Bible. Okay, have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.